Now we've seen how to use the blob brush tool, and you'll have seen me go into my blob brush tool options and keep changing the settings in here to create new shapes. Now, as I said, you can't actually save these brush settings in here, so what I recommend doing when you're working with the blob brush tool, and we're in blob brush skull end AI, if you open that and double click on artboard 2, if you haven't got your artboards panel showing, you can go to the window menu and choose artboards and layers. You'll notice that I have some experiments here that I've done using the standard brushes using the blob brush tool. If I select the knife layer and just select these using the selection tool and just delete them, what we can do as a way of using preset brushes is go into our brushes panel, and we can actually use the calligraphic brushes for the blob brush tool. And you access those by going to the wing menu and going Open Brush Library, and going into Artistic and choosing Calligraphic. So that opens up the Artistic Calligraphic brush library where I can select brushes and add them to my brushes panel. So I'm going to add 2 or 3 of these and then close the Calligraphic library. Now once I have them in my brushes panel, I can select them and use them with the blob brush tool. So if I select this one, for example, I can just select my blob brush tool, and now I can draw with what looks like a more marker pen type effect. Or if I draw with this one, it's flat in a different angle. If we draw on this one, we draw a different shape again. So depending on which one you draw with, you create different shapes. Now you do have to be careful, because you'll notice there, as I finish drawing a shape, if I then keep that selected and select another brush, it's going to outline my shape with that brush stroke. So you do have to be careful. And that's because if we go into my blob brush settings, I have keep selected on. Now this will be off as a default, so you shouldn't have that problem. But if you do, switch that off. And now when I draw a shape and then move to another brush shape to continue my shape, you'll notice it's not remaining selected, so we're not getting that problem. So using these different shapes can be really useful. So let's delete a few of those. And let's have a look at how we can create these calligraphic brushes as well. If you go to New Brush, you can create a new calligraphic brush and it will open up the options for you. So I could call this something like Tooth Brush. And that's for drawing the teeth on our skull. So I'm going to make it smaller. I'm going to adjust the roundness as well, which I've already done. Just squash it down, make it a little bit smaller. Okay, not that small, maybe about that big, and click OK. So now I've got my toothbrush, I can go back into my other artboard, this one here, and create a set of teeth for the bottom of the skull. So select my blob brush tool, make sure I've got my toothbrush selected, which is this one. Now make sure I don't have an object selected when I select that. So if I do, just deselect, select my brush, and now I can go in and paint. Now you'll notice because I've got black selected, it's not painting correctly. So I need to make sure I have white selected, and I can go in here now and just paint in the teeth on the bottom of that skull with my toothbrush. So although you can't save the settings within the blob brush tool itself, what you can do is create calligraphic brushes and use them with your blob brush tool. But there are a few little gotchas based around that, so just be a little bit careful with how you select objects and apply brushes to them.